What if the most sophisticated prison ever built wasn't made of walls, but of amnesia? What if every religious dogma, every spiritual system you were told to follow, was designed not to free your soul, but to make it forget its own origin? You saw the title of this video, The Archons' Greatest Fear, 7 mental levels they don't want you to reach. You clicked expecting a list of mental hacks, a way to think faster, to manifest wealth, to reach the next level. That is the first trap. The suppressed truth, the truth buried under the church's dogma and cemented by modern culture, is that the level they most fear isn't a place you go to. It's a place you came from. The Archons' greatest fear is not your power. It is your memory. I am a decoder. I read the whispers in the texts they tried to burn, the codices they buried in the Egyptian desert. In Nag Hammadi, we find the blueprints of our prison. And the prison is not this material world. The prison is the forgetfulness of this world. The perverbiderty one fiend. 7 mental levels, in our title, are not a ladder to climb. They are 7 layers of amnesia to break, 7 seals on your memory. The Gnostic texts describe the Archons, the cosmic rulers, not as horned demons, but as frequency parasites, soul bureaucrats, and the Demiurge, the false god, the architect of this reality, is the master of illusion. His greatest creation wasn't the universe, it was forgetfulness. He created us, but he couldn't give us life. Life, the divine spark, came from above, a theft, an accident from the Pleroma, the fullness that the Demiurge cannot even perceive. Your divine spark is a fragment of the true God, imprisoned in the machine of the false god. And to keep that spark as their battery, the Archons have only one weapon: to make you forget that you are a god suffering from amnesia. This video is not a guide. It is an act of anamnesis, an act of remembrance. If you are here, it is no accident. It is because the seed of your suppressed memory, your divine spark, is sick of this soul prison. The veil is thinning. The Archons are afraid. Because you are beginning to remember, stay with me as we break the 7 seals. To understand the prison, we must first understand the bars. The Archons are masters of inversion. They take the truth, the Gnosis, and invert it to create dogma. The first and most powerful layer of amnesia is what I call the amnesia of the historical self. The traditional view, the dogma of the church and society, is this: you are your story. You are your name, your birth certificate, your successes, and, most importantly, your failures. The concept of original sin is the archontic tool par excellence. It is a contract you sign at birth, declaring that you are flawed, that you are in debt, that you start broken. You must then spend your entire life crawling back to an external creator, begging for forgiveness for a crime you never committed. This is the illusion. You are not your story. You are not your trauma. You are not your sin. The Gnostic decoding, straight from texts like the Apocryphon of John from Nag Hammadi, reveals the truth. The Demiurge, the false god, looked at his flawed creation and, in his arrogance and ignorance, declared, "I am a jealous god, and there is no other god besides me." He created the concept of sin to control his property. Your story, your linear self that begins at birth and ends at death, is the first level of the mental prison. It is a false narrative imposed on your divine spark, which is eternal, without beginning and without end. The Archons keep you bound to this story, using guilt and regret as the chains. And what is the modern version of this prison? the 24-hour news cycle and political polarization. Think about it. This is the amnesia of the historical self at hyperspeed. The modern Archons no longer need pulpits. They have screens. Every 30 seconds, you are told that the world is ending, that you must choose a side, that you must be outraged, that you must react. Your identity is reduced to who you voted for, to what you are against. You are so busy reacting to the story of the day that you completely forget your eternal nature. You are trapped in the noise of the illusion, forgetting the music of the Pleroma. You are defined by what you hate, and this anchors you firmly in the realm of the Demiurge. Pause. Right now. Feel the anxiety the news feed gives you. Feel the pressure to have an opinion, to react. That is the Archon frequency. Now, breathe, and for 1 second, ask, who am I when I am not reacting? Feel that space, that silence. That is the first crack in the prison. Gnosis is not a belief, it is a recognition. This leads us to the second layer of forgetfulness, the barrier that supports the first, the amnesia of separation. The traditional dogma is clear. God is in heaven. You are on earth. He is the creator. You are the creature. He is perfect. You are flawed. The very architecture of organized religion is built on this gap. You need an intermediary, a priest, a text, a ritual, to build a bridge over the chasm they themselves dug. You are fundamentally separate from your source. This is, perhaps, the most devastating lie of the false god. The Gnostic truth, found in texts like the Gospel of Philip, is a bombshell. The separation is the illusion. You are not separate from the Pleroma. You are the Pleroma experiencing itself in a state of forgetfulness. The Demiurge, the blind god, as the Nag Hammadi texts call him, did not create your divine spark. He only imprisoned it. He built the material world, the Pleroma, as a flawed, chaotic copy of the divine fullness. He demands worship because he is insecure, because deep down he knows he is an imitation. He forces you to look outside for salvation, so that you never look inside and find the Gnosis. The modern version of this amnesia of separation is social media culture. Social media is the modern temple of the Demiurge. It is a machine designed to reinforce the ego, the false, separate self. Every like, every follower, every comment is a microdose of external validation. You are no longer just separate from God. You are separate from everyone else. You are forced into a culture of perpetual comparison. Your value is measured. Hananonetiwas tuatus. Your appearance is judged. Your life is compared. The anxiety you feel when scrolling the feed, that feeling of inadequacy, that your life isn't enough, that you aren't enough, that is the sound of the Archons feeding. They feast on the energy of your perceived inadequacy. They keep you so focused on proving your worth to the illusion that you forget your worth is inherent. Suiyu. Breathe. Close your eyes for a second. Feel the weight of 1,000 strangers, gazes judging your life through a screen. Feel the need to be seen, to be validated. That hook is the Archon's tool. Your divine spark does not need external validation. It simply is. By realizing this, you begin to pull the hook out. You begin to remember. This brings us to the third and perhaps most treacherous layer of amnesia, the amnesia of the inner voice. The dogma we were taught is the final inversion. We are told that truth comes from outside. It is written in a holy book. It is spoken by a man at a pulpit. It is decreed by an institution. Your own inner voice, your intuition, your Gnosis. That, we were told, is the source of temptation. It is the devil. It is the serpent in the garden. Here is the suppressed Gnostic code. The serpent was right. In the Nag Hammadi texts, like the Testimony of Truth, the serpent is often portrayed as the agent of the Pleroma, the principle of divine wisdom, Sophia, trying to liberate Adam and Eve from the ignorant prison of the false god. The Demiurge did not want them to eat from the tree of Gnosis, knowledge, because, if they did, they would remember that they were his equals, or even his superiors. The false god said, "Obey and remain ignorant." The Gnosis said, "Remember and be free." The Archons hate your intuition. They hate your inner voice because it doesn't speak their language. It speaks the language of the Pleroma. Therefore, the entire system is designed to create noise. The modern manifestation of this amnesia is the culture of consumption and distraction, infinite streaming, on-demand entertainment, one-click shopping, the need to fill every second of silence with a podcast, with music, with a video. This is not innocent. It is a weapon of suppression. It is not a conspiracy of people in a room. It is the very nature of the archontic system. It keeps you comfortable, numb, and above all, distracted. The Archons no longer need chains when they can give you a comfortable couch and an infinite catalog of content. You are kept in a state of passive consumption, a digital narcotic that prevents silence. Why? Because in the silence, you can actually hear. Past the hum of anxiety, past the echo of the last show you watched, there is a voice, a stillness, a knowing, a remembrance. The Archon's greatest fear is that you will get bored, because in boredom, Gnosis begins to bubble up. Stop the noise, just for 10 seconds. Listen, not to your thoughts. Listen to the listener, that quiet, observant presence that is aware of your thoughts. That is what they buried at Nag Hammadi. That is what they fear. That is the seed of your suppressed memory. That is your divine spark. Do you understand now? The prison isn't external. It's the amnesia. The title, 7 mental levels, they don't want you to reach, is not a ladder you climb. It's a bomb you defuse. It's a series of memories you reclaim. This is the instruction manual, the soul technology to reverse the amnesia. This is the Gnostic practice of rebellion. These are not 7 levels of rewind from thought. They are 7 stages of anamnesis, 7 acts of remembrance. Level 1 of remembrance, the sovereign pause. This is your first weapon. It is the practice of stopping the reaction program. You feel the anger, the anxiety, the need to compare, the pull of the news addiction. Instead of reacting, you suspend. You observe the sensation. You name it. This is the Archon frequency. This is the illusion. You don't judge it. You don't suppress it. You simply see it. In doing so, you separate your divine spark from the program that is running. You create space. Level 2 of remembrance, the question of rebellion. This is the central mnemonic practice. Instead of asking, "What should I do?" the slave's question, you ask, "Who was I before I believed this?" When guilt arises, ask, "Who was I before I was told I was a sinner?" When the fear of death arises, ask, "Who was I before I was told I had a beginning?" This question, asked daily, is a hammer against the foundations of the soul prison. It is the practical rebellion that the title suggests. Level 3 of remembrance, the stripping of labels. The Archons define you by labels: mother, worker, American, Christian, failure, success. These are the prison uniforms. Gnosis is the act of taking off the uniform. Actively practice disidentification. I have a body, but I am not this body. I have a name, but I am not this name. I have a story, but I am not my story. This is what it means to die before you die. You let the false self die so the divine spark can breathe. Level 4 of Remembrance, tuning the inner voice. You have created silence with the sovereign pause. Now, you must learn to trust what you hear in that silence. Intuition is not emotion. It is a calm knowing. It is gnosis. The practice is simple. When faced with a choice, ignore the pros and cons of the archontic mind and listen to the first, quietest pull from your spark. Honor it, even in small things. This strengthens the connection. Level 5 of Remembrance, the Gnostic gaze. This is the turning point. You stop seeing the world as a solid reality and start seeing it as the illusion it is. You look at the power structures, the dogma, the consumer culture, and you see them as the Demiurge sees them, a flawed, chaotic, insecure copy. Fear turns into almost pity. You are no longer a frightened participant in the illusion. You are a conscious observer of it. You no longer fear the prison. Level 6 of Remembrance, the recognition of the spark. When you master the Gnostic gaze, you stop seeing other people. You start seeing other divine sparks trapped in the same amnesia as you. The driver who cut you off in traffic, the politician you despise, the co-worker who annoys you. You see them as prisoners of war, fast asleep, reacting to the Archon program. Your anger transforms into compassion, not a condescending compassion, but a tragic recognition. This frees you from the cycle of conflict that feeds the Demiurge. Level 7 of Remembrance, the total anamnesis. This is the level the Archons fear most. This is not a mental level. It is the collapse of all levels. It is the moment when the question, "Who was I before?" is answered. You don't connect to the Pleroma. You remember that you are the Pleroma. The amnesia breaks. The illusion of separation evaporates. You are not a fragment of God. You are God pretending to be a fragment. You realize that this entire soul prison is not a cosmic tragedy, but an experience your divine spark chose and is now ready to awaken from. The false God has no power over you because you remember your own divinity. The prison disappears. The prison was never real. The amnesia was the only chain. The Archons' greatest fear is not that you become powerful. It's that you remember you are power. We have walked the journey from the paranoia of the illusion, the traps of the false god hidden in our culture, to the sovereignty of Gnosis. You don't need to build anything. You don't need to climb anything. You just need to remember. Their greatest fear is this moment, this exact second, the act of you, the observer, realizing your own light. This video is not just information, it is an activation. Gnosis is not a solitary act. Every spark that awakens weakens the veil for all the others. Every soul that remembers its origin helps break the prison for the next. Your rebellion begins now. Declare it. Activate the code. Go to the comments section and write the declaration of your Gnosis. Write, "I am remembering the Pleroma." Feel the power in those words. You are not asking. You are declaring. The Archons have programmed you your entire life to ask a prisoner's question. What must I do to be saved? The Gnostic spark, your spark, asks a different question. A rebel's question. And what must I remember to be free? The answer is buried beneath the noise. The answer is you. The amnesia is over.